story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Welcome to Tashkent 2014, one of the preliminary tournaments leading up to the candidates final for the World Championship Challenger. It's in a series, a FIDE Grand Prix series. A lot of great players in here, but especially for me is my buddy Carl Nakamura is in it, and I hope Carl does well. Anyway, folks, FIDE Grand Prix Series, Tashkent 2014. Games coming up. Here are the standings after 9 rounds. Unfortunately, my buddy Nakamura isn't in first, but Andreikin from Russia is first with 6 points. In second place is Carl Nakamura from the U.S., Mamedyarov with 5.5. Shayla Graf and Jobava with 5. Jobava, Karyakin, and Caruana with 4.5. Yakovenko and Gary with 4. Kazmanjanov with 3. And poor old Boris with last. Boris Galfand with 2.5. And that's the standings after 9 rounds. Alright folks, Cordisco back again. Another game from round 9 of the current leg of the FIDE Grand Prix Series. This one from Tashkent 2014. Really interesting game. We got two fascinating players, especially one, Jobava from Georgia, as white. Exciting player. You never know what the heck this guy's going to do. And Andreikin, who seems to be trudging along pretty steadily here. Did very well in the World Cup in Norway. And he's knocking on the door and tied for first here. Let's see how he does. Jobava is white. Andreikin is black. Go through the moves here now as usual. The computer shows it as D4, D5, unusual lines. So that means automatically Jobava's playing. You never know what the hell this guy's going to do. You never do. Bishop D6. Pawn. Bishop. Knight F3. Already it's pretty crazy. Now that G4 move is fairly popular lately in these positions here. Knight. Let's just go back here just for whatever is worth department. Is it worth moving the pawns in front of the king side? Actually, I think it is. Knight to D7. Bishop D3. Bishop takes, queen takes. Now that was a so-called white's good bishop. Reason being that his center pawns are on dark squares. Bishop takes, E takes. Now here we go. We got a whole ton of pawns pretty far advanced. On the king side, black hasn't castled yet. Still has to move at least one piece to castle on either side. And what he decides to do is Queen F6 is the computer's choice. That's probably what I would do. And H5 is number 2, a close second. He went H5. G takes. Rook takes. Rook G1. Now we can pretty much guarantee if black's going to castle now, it's going to be on the queen side. Same with white. I'm going to see how this goes. Maybe they might not castle at all. We'll have to see. Queen F6. Knight D5. That's a really good spot for that knight. C6. Black says, okay, that's fine. Go ahead, take my knight. And white makes a... It's got a question mark on the computer, and I think it's fairly dubious, but... Knight to A4. That takes the knight completely out of play here temporarily. I think knight to E2 is a better choice. Block up the king side a little bit. Knight to A4. Queen takes the pawn. Knight to F3. Right now it's an over 2-point advantage already for black. I think Jobava just got too creative, if you want to know the truth of it. If knight had taken D7 instead, rook takes, queen here, queen takes, king takes, knight C5 check, king E7, and black's up 2 solid pawns. He's going to get it back. Even if he takes the pawn here, rook goes here, he's going to get this pawn. After knight to F3, E5 by black. What to do? What to do? Pretty straightforward here. Tell you the truth, the computer likes queen to e3 before rook takes g7. Computer likes queen to e3, then after queen takes, pawn takes g6. It likes that better for white, but white decided to take the pawn on g7. Now, since when is taking a free pawn worse for your position? Well, this is definitely one of them. Now black castles. Now he goes queen to e3. I think he might have had it reversed. Queen f6. Rook g3. Good move. Protect the knight in case you have to move the queen. E takes. Queen takes. Now material's even here, but I'll be honest with you, the computer shows it an almost 2-point advantage for white. And I'll tell you the truth, it's a lot easier to play, or excuse me, 2-point advantage for black. It's a lot easier to play black here. Queen takes, knight takes, rook takes, knight f3, rook goes back, goes to h1 check. Has to bring the rook back. Rook takes, knight takes. Now this is really interesting here. And I'm a little surprised at this move, to be honest with you. Computer likes knight g to f6, rook e8 check, king c7. I think all those three of those moves are decent. And fourth is knight to h6. They're all pretty close in score, but Andreikin does none of them. He does d4, which I was really surprised at. If he had gone knight to f6, then after knight to c3, black's sitting pretty well here. Very well, as a matter of fact. But after d4, I think it was a small inaccuracy. b3. Finally, knight comes out. Knight f3. Now, this is a 4-knight pawn ending. It's always fun, even without rooks, but with rooks it's even worse. c5. Knight to b2. King c7. And black is still sitting pretty well, but I think a couple inaccurate moves slowly kept his advantage down. a4. Finally he does rook to e8 check. King to f1. I like king to d2, but unfortunately it's knight to e4 check, loses. King to f1. Knight to e4 anyway. Now, how are you going to make a plan here as white? You're pretty much pushed back. Those pawns on c5 and d4 are just menacing there. Black's got a really good position. I mean, what do you do here? And knight to d3 is a good choice. b6. a5. He's trying to break it up a little bit. King to b7. b4. Here he goes. Now the computer likes pawn to f6 and knight to c3. Black decided knight to c3 instead. A takes, A takes, B takes, B takes, knight to d2. Now, I mean, white's not better than a couple moves ago, but I think he's doing better than he was. It's a tough position to play. Rook to e2. Knight to b3. King to b6, because he was attacking this pawn twice. Pick up the pawn. It was only defended once. Rook to c1. I like that as well. He's looking for a draw here. But what he does is he miscues badly. Rook to a8. Just completely misjudged the position. Rook takes c2. Knight takes. Knight takes. Knight takes. Rook c1 check. Only move king to g2. And black is just, white is just doomed. Knight to d5. He's up a full knight. I know what he's thinking. I'm trying to get that F-pawn somehow between my knight and my rook and just duke it out. What's just not going to happen? Rook to F8, knight E6. And that's where Jobava said, that's enough. I'm not going to play anymore. I've had enough. It was on move 39, so I'm not really sure if he was under time pressure or not. After knight to E6, knight takes and pawn takes. And that's it. I mean, you're basically screwed here. How are you going to win the E-pawn? It's just not going to happen. You're down a full piece. Game's over. He resigned. Anyway, this win by Andreikin puts him in first place, a half a point ahead of my buddy from the U.S., Carl Nakamura. So this is another game from round 9 of the FIDE Grand Prix series, this one in Tashkent. I hope you enjoyed it. I want you all to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
I like guys who have a little bit fat, a little bit hairy back. I like guys who watch a lot of football and go out with the boys. This is good thing. If I not get flowers, I'm not like, oh, put me, I not get flowers. This is so silly. I know they sometimes go to the striptease, but it's okay. I'm not jealous. He can do whatever he wants. I mean, I don't care.
The girlfriend. Jim Beam. The bourbon.